Hey everybody, welcome to Dead Challenge Podcast. My name's Josh. We're here for a pretty serious reason, a conversation about what's going on in our world. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, and we've seen these in the past with other shootings, but I've never been as in tune with what's going on in the world as I am now, considering I'm on Twitter and I'm really active in news and everything else. I've never seen anything like this. And unfortunately, there's been a lot like this, so it is horrific. But today we're gonna have a conversation about, it's an opportunity to vent, it's an opportunity to ask questions, to have a conversation about it. Everything that's given in this chat or on made in the video or whatever is going to go to I'm going to donate to the GoFundMe on the Uvalde page, and I've linked it in my description below. If you guys feel so inclined, please feel free to donate there. The families are all, no amount of money is going to help here, that's for sure. So I just want to, this is one of the most heartbreaking things I think any of us have seen, or and it just continues to keep happening. And it just seems to be rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And we just had a shooting in Buffalo not too long ago. So thanks for joining us here. Unfortunately, these are the tough conversations that we have to have, but this is what we do here on the Real Crime part of Dad Challenge Podcast, is that we have, conversations. You guys will enter in the chat if you want, have something to say, and we can talk about, vent, whatever you need to do to kind of be here. I think when it comes to things that are really, really heartbreaking and unbelievable, sometimes you just need to talk it out, right? So insane. Yeah, and this Destiny has a good comment here. Destiny Lemon says, unfortunately, this is America. No matter how many times this happens, laws and protection will never change. And I think there is going to be a conversation about that today. I'm going to put the slow chat on for you guys, just because it is going to be probably crazy. Give me a second. Sorry about that. Where is my slow chat? Here we go. Yeah, I just read this too. See, one of the husbands of the teacher was killed, just died from a heart attack. Annie from 10 to Life, she texted me that as well about an hour and a half ago. And the thing you got to think about that for a second, I know it's all heartbreaking. That guy literally died of a broken heart because his wife was killed. It's the stress that this puts on people, the heartache, the community is destroyed, families are destroyed. And there's lots that people want to blame, and there is blame to be had for sure. Obviously, of the shooter is most to blame, but there is some things we're going to talk about today that, as I'm going through the story, I generally wouldn't do something like this. I was like, there's no, I told myself there's no way I'm going to touch the story. Like, it's just no way. But as I started going through the story on Twitter and news broadcasts and articles, something is crazy about this, and we got to kind of walk through it. So, there's going to be, again, I know this is going to be a very divisive chat. I know that this is going to be a conversation that there's not going to be any right answers, but we do, instead of just complaining and all that kind of stuff and just whatever, why don't we try to figure out if we can talk about what could be a possible solution? And I think, there's a lot of people with a lot of good things to say, a lot of ideas that have been floating around there, and it always comes down to this for some reason: money. So the school had lockdown measures, but it ended up causing problems for police to get in. So I'm going to read an updated timeline that just came out about 55 minutes ago. So let me get that done here. It's from KHOU 11. Loved ones of the teachers and students who were shot and killed inside Robb Elementary School on Tuesday want to know what happened. Their focus is on time. They have questions about what happened and how long it took for law enforcement to take down the shooter. During a news conference Thursday afternoon, that was today, investigators stressed it would take time to figure out exactly what happened. However, they did lay out a timeline of the events they have uncovered thus far. Officials said the first shots were fired in the suspect's grandmother's home, a few blocks away from the school. Apparently, he shot his grandmother in the face. Escalon said at 11:30 a.m., someone called 911 to report that there was a crash. Oh, sorry. Then he took his grandmother's truck and wrecked it in a ditch near the school. And then the 911 call, there was a crash and there was a man with a gun. He walks around. He sees two witnesses at a funeral home across the street and he fires towards them. He continues walking towards the school. He climbs a fence. Now he's in the parking lot shooting the school multiple times. So he's shooting at the school. So I'm just kind of updating everybody on what I think is the most recent timeline. The shooter walks into the west side of Robb Elementary. So he walks into the west side. This is what I've heard reports on, that he walked into a side or a back door that wasn't locked. So if you go to my kid's school, you can't get into my kid's school. You have to buzz in. They have a camera. They ask you what you're doing there, and they're not just letting anybody in. Now, of course, there are probably ways you could do it. But I can't believe in this day and age, with the amount of school shootings we've had and violence, that there are still schools that don't have insane security. So I'm just gonna, as I read, I'm gonna go through comments and stuff like that. So he was shooting at the school, likely probably at windows. I don't know. We got to remember, everybody. We'll never know, but this kid likely, of course, is not right in his head. Nobody does this. Nobody who's not crazy does this. So, I mean, to ask questions, even like what was going through his head, is crazy. So we don't know. Yeah, I think all the Canadian schools we have here, obviously we have way less schools in America, but you can't get into our kids' schools. Except I think you can get into the high school, no problem. I think the high school doors are kind of, easy to get in. I think any public school, like before under high school, you can't get in. Sorry, I need a drink. We're gonna answer this question, Tame Tessie. Schools shouldn't damn well need security. But I'm going to address that. I'm going to leave that up just because I want to continue reading. So he walks into the west side. He walks, and I'm going to approximately 20 or 30 feet. He makes a right and walks into the hallway. He makes a right, makes another 20 feet, turns left into the schoolroom, into a classroom that the doors open in the middle. Okay, so he's into a classroom at this point. 4 minutes later, 11:44 a.m., Escalon said Uvalde police and Uvalde ISD officer make entry, are met with gunfire, take cover, and call for backup. Now, this is where we got to take everything the police say with a big, giant ass grain of salt, because other reports are saying the police took fire and they left because they didn't want to get killed. So this is why this is going to be a divisive conversation, because the police are going to try to they're going to try to mitigate this disaster that I think has happened here. This is a disaster on security, on police, on everything. An absolute disaster, because if this is true, they officers make entry and they're met with gunfire and they retreat. And I honestly think, nope, you don't retreat. Kids, you are there to protect the children. And retreating allowed this guy to go in and kill, I think it was 21 people. So they're also evacuating students and teachers. There's a lot going on, Escalon said. Approximately an hour later, guys, this is an hour later after they've already been exchanging fire with this guy. They left. An hour later, a U.S. Border Patrol tactical team arrives, okay? Not the SWAT team that Uvalde has. Uvalde has a SWAT team that gets $4 million a year to run, okay? We'll get to that in a minute. They make entry and they shoot and kill the suspect. Now, this is an hour after he got into the school, okay? And then he says this: our job is to report the facts and to have those answers, and we're not there yet. The police are going to do everything in their power right now, and this is the craziest part about this, to push blame, to do whatever they get, because there's no good answer here. There was police there that literally had an opportunity to take this guy down, and they retreated. Those police and those people that were there to protect those kids, at minimum, need to be held accountable to some degree. Okay? And so that's the most updated thing that we have to now. So there are videos circulating on Twitter and everything else about parents outside getting arrested. I'm going to see if I can find some of those for you, because they're everywhere. I just want to go through all that before we get on to what we're really going to talk about. Let's get all these videos that I've been seeing. It's just heartbreaking. Oh my goodness, where is it? They are everywhere. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to see if I can pop this up for you guys. All right. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you guys. So this is a video that a parent took outside of the school during the active shooter. Okay, so I need you to listen to it. I don't know if you can see right there, but right here, they have a father who has been, I think, tased at this point and arrested. And he's got his cuffs on, and they're not letting him move. Just want you to see that for a second. You can hear the wailing, parents crying, people freaking. There's like 15 cops here, and all these cops are doing right here is stopping parents from trying to go help their kids. And like, I sort of get what police are like, look, we don't want you going into danger. But why are those police not, again, we've got this hour, literally an hour where this guy's in the school. And there's a SWAT team, there's police everywhere. There was already police in the school that did confront him already. An hour. And all they're doing is yelling at parents and fighting with parents. Okay? I don't even want to show you any more of that. So that is kind of where we're at. So this guy gets in, he shoots basically an entire classroom. He barricades himself inside of a classroom, and he does the carnage. And so, but what a lot of people, yeah, sorry, I am sick. Sorry, guys. I've been sick for days. So the questions that are arising right now are, why didn't the police do their job? Why did it take a Border Patrol special unit to come? Where's the SWAT team? And why did those cops retreat? Also, there is stories and things out there being reported that there were cops that went in and got their kids out first. Chris Longfellow says the man who unleashed hell was tased and arrested. No. He was killed. He was killed by an officer. This is the thing I'm scared about, Kimberly. It needs to be investigated, but it won't. It'll get brushed away because if I had my way, every single cop and leader in this town who failed to support and to protect these children, or even just go in there, gone. You don't get to do this anymore. You failed. You have failed 21 families. This is literally going to destroy the entire city, town, and the country is all heartbroken. Okay. You have an opportunity to do something you need to do. Those kids, hear me out. This is the thing that makes me very angry. Okay. Those guys had guns. So yeah, they were taking fire, but they're trained to take fire. They're trained to stop these people, but they left and let this guy do whatever he wanted to do for 1 hour. Okay. There's no excuse. Those kids don't have anything. Those kids have no protection. They can't stand up for themselves. Sitting under a desk is going to do nothing. They literally retreated. I cannot tell you how angry I am and how accountable I think these cops need to be held for not doing their job. Yeah, this is exactly what they trained for. What's the excuse? Now, apparently I've been also seeing some stories in New York where cops got off. I think I don't know if it was the Supreme Court or whatever that said they really don't have. That's not really their job to protect people. Like they said that they don't have to. So anyway, I think in the end, those cops that didn't help those kids, or those officers or whoever was in the school who didn't protect those kids, like I think there needs to be some kind of accountability to a degree. I think so, because they confronted this guy before he went in and did the carnage he did, and then they escaped. I can't get over it. That's the one thing I can't get out of my head, that all this could have been mitigated if they just were to continue to confront him. Like, I know we didn't see it, but he went into a classroom. And so, yeah, maybe he confronted them and shot at them, but why did they leave the school? They're waiting for backup, but why did you leave? So the cops that got their kids out, this is obviously not being reported much, but there are people on the scene who have been saying that. Um, and again, the cops were tasing people and pushing people and not allowing. And understand, like, guys, I understand why you don't want to let parents go into the school, because they're could get killed too. So I get that. But while they're all like, the thing that's making so many people upset is that while these cops are here pushing, tasing, arresting people, they're not in there doing their job. Like, they know that there's a shooter in the school. Okay, they know he's barricaded because the two people that shot at him came out and told them what's going on, and yet they were surrounded the school, and nobody's going in to stop this guy until a border patrol shows up. First of all, my main question: why is Border Patrol doing the job of a SWAT team? Where's the SWAT team in Uvalde? I've showed you the picture on my community page. They have a SWAT team. Apparently, it took cops 4 minutes to get to the school. Why was he in there for an hour? I mean, you stop at nothing to get in there. Pretty sure every classroom has windows. What the hell happened? So, here's the thing, Rachel, you're right. The police didn't want to get into danger. They're being shot at. I understand that. But you chose this job. You are on the front line. That's kind of the story. That's what you do. You've got to get in there. And the border. So Tom's saying that the Border Patrol was also off duty. So this guy's a hero, and you're never going to know who he is, because apparently the special ops Border Patrol units, you can't know who they are because they would become targets of the cartels. So you probably will never know who this guy is. And he's a hero. But again, why did it take for him to show up and then go in and do the thing that anybody else could have done? Where is the SWAT team in Uvalde? Oh, yes, the parents of the kids will absolutely sue the entire shit out of Texas. Like 100%. The police department and everything. We don't know a lot of the background of the shooter, just that there was no records. He turned 18, bought his guns, and went in the next day, which, again, we're going to talk about that a little bit. You guys know I'm kind of libertarian down the center, and I obviously I'm not American, so I can't really chime in on what I think, but I think it's fascinating, and I've said this before, about the gun culture in the US. Fascinating in a good and a bad way, that there are people who are responsible enough to do that, and that you can go. I was at Cabela's a couple of weeks ago, and you could just go buy guns. You can't do that here. I've got my restricted gun license in Canada, and it took me 8 hours of a course to go get that, and I had to pass with what was it, Tom? 85% to get my restricted gun license, which only allows me to get certain guns, and they're only for hunting. You cannot, if someone breaks into my home here in Canada, I can't shoot them dead. I will go to jail for the rest of my life. We do not have stand your ground laws here in Canada. We don't have a lot of guns either. And so when I say American culture and guns and stuff like that, I speak from a place where we didn't grow up with that. You guys grew up with the Second Amendment. It's very ingrained into your social fabric, right? It's just there. So it is a conversation to be had. But I think, like anything in the US, it's probably one of the most divisive topics ever. And as I am enmeshed in American politics and seeing it, it only ever comes up when this shit happens, right? Obviously. So That's again, just one simple caveat into what I talk about here on the Dutch Lunch Podcast a lot is the exploitation of children and all these family vloggers. Is that's what I'm scared is going to happen. There's going to be some kind of violence or some kind of just atrocious thing that happens before they make any changes. So here, someone says here, Destiny Lemon says, the Second Amendment needs to be revised, not removed, revised. Sean Arm says, Josh, these cops chose not to be heroes. Unfortunately, SWAT team was busy doing things and stuff. Like, we need to know what the SWAT team was doing, because they're like all over Facebook flossing their gear and all their weapons and their equipment, and like, look what we got. It's all shiny. Where the F were they? To this day, I'm looking on Twitter. I see nothing. Law enforcement official on CNN defended decisions to wait hour for SWAT. They had to wait an hour for the SWAT to confront Uvalde, arguing if officers were shot, gunmen could have moved to another class and continued killing. Officers could have been shot. They could have been killed. Again, are we hearing different stories? Because we're hearing that those officers left. They retreated to go look for backup. So, and I know that there's an NRA thing going on in Texas this weekend. If they continue, okay, if the NRA continues with this, whatever they're doing, their national conference in Texas this weekend, like, how could anybody support them continue that? At minimum, you cancel that shit. At minimum, you cancel that. Somebody tell me who is very pro 2A, pro gun. Would you consider them canceling it a bad thing? Guns are banned at the NRA? What? Okay. No, this again, Shelby, I get what you're saying. It doesn't matter, the law. Criminals and evil people will never obey them. I don't think anybody's arguing here that the law would have protected these kids because this guy broke all the laws. Like, there was all the laws he broke, okay? There was no, there's just nothing here. I know, and I get that. And the criminals are going to criminal, right? That's what they're going to do. Their laws are not going to stop them. I know that specifically some of the most intense gun violence in the U.S. is done in the most restricted gun states. Am I correct about that? Chicago, L.A., New York. Am I correct in my assumption about that? Isn't Chicago one of the most dangerous places to be for gun violence? And it is literally the most restrictive for gun purchasing. But I want to go back to this NRA thing. Maybe I should leave a poll, but should the NRA cancel their thing? You're going to put a poll in. I could put the poll in for you guys. Vorname Knack. Okay. If someone is willing to commit murder, you think buying an illegal gun will somehow be too much for them? No, and I'm not advocating. See, the thing is that, like, I understand the Second Amendment allows people to arm themselves against a tyrannical government, right? So you guys are, I think, one of the remaining countries in the world that allow your citizens to arm themselves with literally as much weaponry and ammo as they want. And to a degree, you can even get like really insane weapons. Like, I've seen it. And I've also met a lot of people who are very, very pro-gun, who are very safe, who take it very seriously. And I think for the most part, people who do take it seriously are law-abiding. I think if you look over all the things that ever happened, all the laws are broken. So I don't think removing 2A is I don't think that's the answer here. I think it's never going to happen. So when I did my community post, I'm asking people, what do you think we can do here? What do you think Canada, US, all these westernized countries, what can we do? Because 2A is not going away. It's never going to happen, especially when you've got a giant red wave about to crush your states in November. It's going to be unlike anything you've ever seen before, just because of the way that the country is so divided. And that's just how politics works. Your midterms generally switch the color of the president. That's as far as I'm aware. So, people are saying more background checks. Again, Mary Queen of the shots. I get what people say that, but you always got to go back to A background check isn't going to do anything for a person who is going to go break the law, right? It can stop criminals from buying guns, but criminals aren't buying them legally generally. Am I right about that? Again, look at Chicago, look at LA. All these cities with the most restrictive gun laws probably have some of the most, obviously, well, they will have most of the illegal weapons in the US. So I've been hearing a lot of things about people with their hot takes about this whole thing. And as soon as I hear people say, oh, well, this is somebody's fault. Like, if you want to blame somebody, blame the Republicans, or blame Trump, or blame Cruz, or blame whatever. You can't, I'm sorry, guys. You can't say that, because then you can, if there's anything that happens, violence on the other side, you can blame them too. It is not their fault. Having guns in your, I mean, but there also has to be argued that I don't think that mass shootings happen anywhere else except maybe Mexico, like they do in the US. We also have to remember, you can't compare the US to Canada or UK or whatever else, because again, the US has 375 million people. Canada, we have 35 million people. Okay. It is a different world when you're dealing in hundreds of millions of people. So, it's so Cindy says it's 100% Republicans' fault for blocking any meaningful gun legislation. Now, okay, and I probably would agree with you on this. Now, what does meaningful gun legislation look like? Right? Are there is, as far as I'm aware, you can just go get guns, right? But you have to be a certain age. Do you have to have a license to get guns, or no? You just have to be a certain age, right? You do have to do background checks. Are there places in the States where you don't have to do background checks, where you can literally just walk into a store, put your credit card down, and buy a gun? Is that a thing? Can you do that? So Hannah says, no, you always have to have a background check. You need a license in some states. Okay. This is a good point too. And I've seen this point a lot. These kids can't buy liquor, can't buy tobacco, but they can own an AR-15. That's a really good point. Maybe some common sense gun legislation could mean, like what we do here in Canada, you have to pass some kind of course, right? You have to wait a period of weeks to get a gun. You have to be 21. How about that? If you're old enough to buy booze, then you can buy guns. If you're old enough, whatever, or what I'm saying, that seems like common sense gun reform. Why is it? And a lot of people in this chat can tell me this, but why is it that why would anybody in the US be against the way we sort of do it here in Canada, which is just make people wait a little longer and get a license? Why would anybody be against that? Can someone tell me a common sense answer to why you would not want to increase the gun ownership to 21 and make sure people get licenses? So Christine says you can buy guns at all different places without background checks. I've seen this one too. We defend our president with guns, congressmen with guns, courts with guns, banks with guns, our governors with guns, celebrities with guns, factories, sporting events, our schools, gun-free. I've seen that a lot. I'm trying to find an answer to this. Is there anybody in here opposed to increasing the age to buy a weapon, and or opposed to making sure you have a license for that weapon? Can you buy automatic weapons in the US? Like, you can really buy like machine guns and things? That's just mind-blowing. Oh, thank you, EDM Summer. Josh, it depends on the state. That's the problem. We need a universal gun law, the same for all states, because the money, NRA, and yeah, the NRA is a huge, I know that the NRA is a huge gun lobby. So yeah, this is what I think EDM is onto it. So would anybody be opposed? And I know that there is in this chat, like, it looks like, what is it? The poll, 74%. I'm going to put a different poll in here. and I'm going to see what you guys think. Some people don't want to talk in the chat, and I want to ask the community. Okay. Sorry if I missed a bunch. So they should ban buying guns online. You can buy guns online? Man. Someone says, yeah, I thought this is true. You cannot buy automatic weapons. I don't think you can. I know you can buy semi-auto, and I can own a semi-automatic rifle as well. I think, yeah, I can with a restricted gun license. So no, semi-automatic guns are like, because you guys have to understand a fully automatic rifle is a press the trigger and it just shoots. Whereas a semi-automatic is just a continuous trigger, right? So I just recently got my gun license, so I just kind of learned all this stuff right before all this happened. So I do know the difference. Michelle says 21 still too young, but we got to go by the age of like adulthood. So if you can buy booze, then at least you know you're an adult. I don't understand how a teenager can buy a weapon. 25 minimum, Sean says. Yeah, Target and Disney says it's weird too, is he bought 2 different AR-15 guns within days of each other. I thought the gun store has to note that. I feel like if there's actually a national database, at least, right? They can scan your license or whatever. Hey, this guy just bought a gun in another state, so we're not going to sell him another one. Or it's been you need to wait. There's got to be more of a waiting period. Why do you have another gun? I mean, I think the 2A, though, people who are very, very diehard 2A are going to say, look, if I want to own 150 guns, let me own 150 guns. I'm a collector. I like guns. I know there are people that have stores of guns. Okay. Lots and lots and lots of guns. So it's not about how many you have. I don't think that's going to ever matter for 2A. I don't think so. You can buy parts online, build yourself. You can also 3D print guns. I know that for sure. You can join the military at 18. It's different, though, because you're at least learning how to correctly use the gun. Yeah. The military argument is a little bit different because you are fully, completely trained. Whereas a civilian, there's no way a civilian is going to get the same type of military training. It's just not. I mean, if you've ever seen a military person use a weapon, it's day and night compared to somebody who doesn't. Stay Balanced says the anti-gun people in the chat have no idea what they're talking about. Most of them have no idea what the process of buying a gun is. Again, I think that's not anybody's fault, though, Stay Balanced, because there isn't a universal federal mandate, right? There isn't. There is, everybody thinks, one state might have something, Alaska might have something, whereas Hawaii might have something different. That's why I think you need to federalize this and universalize it, meaning you just make it so that there is a universal database of who owns weapons. I cannot believe that there's not a universal database. Wouldn't that make FBI's job and police job a lot easier too if it's federalized and universal? Trash Panda says my husband makes gun. Orders parts online, and probably because if you can join the military, you should be able to buy a gun. I agree, you should be 21. So you can literally order parts of a gun and put it together. That's like a loophole. Wow. Aislinn says, in my state, it took me months to get into the class that would allow me to qualify for an LTC, which is what is. So there are states that you require a license. Yeah, everybody needs to stop calling an AR-15 an assault rifle because it's not. That's not what the AR stands for. Every weapon that shoots bullets is an assault rifle. Then that's just People need to stop. I mean, that's part of this. Everybody's super confused and they're just spouting things that they don't know. And I know I'm not super educated on everything either, but it just makes it worse because those people who are ingrained in 2A, who know gun culture, who are safe and do it properly, they're the ones who are like, you don't know anything you're talking about. Because when someone on the other side says, well, this, and this, they're like, no, that's wrong. So you guys can never agree on anything. Oh, license to carry. Thank you. Yep. You can't do that in Canada. Now, I know I'm comparing, it's definitely apples and oranges. But I'm sorry, I'm just looking at everything. I got a gun license because I used to shoot when I was in Army cadets, and it's something I'm interested in. Plus, I would like to know how to operate a rifle safely. Because also, hold on, Liz Baldera says, "Would you be interested in hearing a police officer's point of view?" Of course, I'm a police officer and would love to give my input. Of course, but I like I want to be a responsible. I don't have any guns, but I want to be able to go sport shoot or do some things with it. But again, I have my gun license. I would like to own a gun. I actually wouldn't hunt animals either, to be honest with you. I would just do it for sport. So I can't shoot animals for food. I wouldn't be able to do that. My heart wouldn't let me. But I honestly also think that everybody should probably learn to fire a weapon just so you're safe around them, just in case. Also, I'm into prepping right now, and I'm like a zombie apocalypse type of guy that like I'm really getting into this world of prepping, and I really enjoy it. And I don't know, you call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I feel like being prepared for anything that could happen in the future, it's better to be trained and ready than not. So a lot of people are asking where you got the 3,000. I don't think it matters. Probably maybe a credit card. Doesn't really matter where he got it. Or are you saying that did someone give him the money to buy the guns because there's other people? Jenna says people have the right to protect their property and families. Now, this is the thing in the States that, again, is mind-blowing to me because it's such a different world than here. Like, again, no, if you come onto my property, it's not shit I can do about it. You break into my house, there's not shit I can do about it. I can call the police. That's it. I cannot. If someone is coming after my family, of course I will do whatever it takes, but I will end up in jail if I harm that person. Isn't that nuts? Like, I feel like that's a little too far. I don't actually agree with that. I think that you should be able to protect your family. So that's kind of, there's a disconnect there. I think Canada goes way, way too far with like the protecting criminals, because if you're going to come in to hurt my family, I'm going to jail because you're not leaving my house alive. If you're going to try to hurt my family, yes, I'm going to jail. But in the US, it's luck. We covered that case where this dad was coming to pick up the son and the stepdad came out and they argued and he just shot him and that guy got away with it. I mean, there's got to be some kind of middle ground. No, Canadian cops are pretty good depending on the emergency, right? Because we're not super high crime. It's nothing like that. There's a lot of chat going on. Tommy says, one of my close friends was first on scene to a gun at a school call here in Canada. Canadian officers do not wait for tactical. They enter right away. Yeah. What's the most dangerous part of Canada? Toronto. Okay, I'm going to look at the poll real quick. Okay. So I left a poll up that says, should there be a federal guideline for guns, 21 years old, and you need to have a license? 87% of this chat, who I know specifically, are very divided along 2A and not 2A. That is very telling. So I'm not saying that that poll is going to be the end all of all polls or whatever, and maybe it doesn't represent everybody, but I feel like this is common sense legislation that every politician and person could get behind. Can somebody tell me what negative ramification of having a federalized gun registry or licensing would be? Is there something bad with that? What could be bad? Or is it just the fact that Nope, because they are infringing on a right, and if they take that right, then they're going to take the other rights. Is that where this is? Like, is it the slippery slope argument? I owned a gun at 21 and it saved my life when I was broken into. Cannot imagine what would happen if I didn't have that. Yeah. Yeah, remember everyone, the 18-year-old shot his grandma before going on this rampage. He might have stole it from his grandmother. The ramification is it won't end there. That's what I think that's what I hear. Is that people are saying, well, the government's going to do that. And then there 50 senators, Alyssa says 50 senators want power. And so I think it's the slippery slope thing. And you can't fault people for believing that, because that's the slippery slope argument is a thing. And if you look at where we are, Canadians and US, politically in all aspects of even every kind of politics, the slippery slope thing, long gone. Okay, that they talked about. Oh, if you're going to happen, it's because everybody's like, it's a fallacy. The slippery slope was not a fallacy. Okay, so I know there's not going to be an answer here today, 2A, but I just wanted to kind of get people's thing for somebody who's obviously not an American, who thinks that there's a middle ground for this. And again, this is going to be common sense conversations. There has to be a middle ground, because if you go on Twitter, there's no such thing as middle ground. If you think that people should have guns, then you are the worst person in the world. If you think people should be able to own guns responsibly, then you're the world. It's just, there's no middle ground. Why can we never have a middle ground when it comes to these type of arguments? Because if you took a poll of every adult in the US, do you think that the poll would lean on having a safe registry that was universal? I think it would be overwhelmingly, yes, let's do that. As long as we continue to hold our 2A rights and all that, because I don't think that having a universalized licensing system where you have to take time to get your license is going to infringe on anybody's 2A rights, because you can still get the gun, right? You just have to wait a little longer. You have to take a test and you have to be a certain age. That does not infringe on 2A, if I'm not mistaken. The school I worked at, kids go to as their own response team of teachers, staff, and train for this. They have safes with guns and vests. The school that you work at, Megan, that's going to be a talk. That's going to be a talk we're going to have in a minute. My mom's sister says that they will not stop the gun laws because they get paid. Well, that's the gun lobby. It's a very powerful gun. The NRA is a very powerful gun lobby. Here's how you solve all the major political crises in your country and our country. Okay, make lobbying illegal, or just make it that you can't lobby politicians. Lobbyist, done. Stop lobbying. Lobbying is crazy. If you guys don't understand what lobbying is, it is an organization that can use money, tactics, blackmail, whatever it takes to lobby the government to shape laws to give them what they want. And the most powerful lobbies are the ones with the most money. So the people with the most money have all the power. We should never allow, I don't understand how no one ever talks about stop lobbyists. There's got to be a politician, hopefully in the coming future, that says, I'm going to run on stop lobbying. I'm going to run on that. If people understood how lobbying works, how laws are made, how politicians are paid, lobbying would be a thing of the past, because that's how the sausage is made. Lobbying is crazy because it's literally money, paying politicians to do what you want them to do, giving them cushy jobs when they're finished. Lobbying, it's literally the darkest, most disgusting thing you've ever seen. No, lobbying is not illegal. Lobbying is fully legal. There are firms, billions of dollars, who lobby governments. As a police officer, I'd rather be the one protecting you guys at the schools. Colleges have officers and security around. They do. Colleges have tons of security. Colleges have buttons that you press it. If you're walking home and you're scared, press the button, cops. Okay? Colleges, banks. It's mind-blowing to me that we have zero protections at our schools for kids. Can somebody give me the reason why people would be against having armed police or security at a school? What is the reasoning that this isn't happening already? This is interesting. Sarah Pasley says, in the US, 77% of mass shooters leak information of their intent prior to taking action. If you see something, say something. Changing the age to buy a gun won't fix things. He posted on IG and sent texts. Now, I know what you're saying, that changing the age of gun, again, I'm just trying to find a common sense middle ground so that teenagers can't get their hands on guns. Does that make sense? I'm not even sure that would help because they're going to break the law anyway, right? So Ashley says, here in Kentucky, we have police officer at every school in our town. So it'd be interesting. Why is there not a ton of data coming out from Fox, CNN, MSNBC saying, okay, of the 99,000 schools that we have in the US right now, 60,000 of them have security. Why don't we have it at every single one? What kind of protection does the school have when it comes to watching who enters the building? I'm pretty sure he went through a door that they didn't have, like, the protection was not. It was a door that was supposed to be locked, and it was not locked. Okay, so Greenoid Adventure, thank you for saying this. I'm not calling you out. I'm actually asking this question to you. Thank you. Armed police at our effing schools? Are we for real? Is this the world you want to live in? Okay. I mean, it's the reality, is what I'm telling you. So so think about this. The US and Canada, we protect our money more than we protect our children. Sorry, I'm going to get to these ones because these donations are going to them. Okay. So I want to get back to that comment. So yes, this is the world you want to live in. No, I mean, no, I would love to live in a perfect world where there's no violence against children. But the reality is that there is violence against children. There are mass school shootings all the time in the US. Okay, there was actually a school shooting today, apparently in Scarborough in Toronto. Just happened today. So this happens. Okay, so yeah, I would prefer not to have to, but would you rather not? Would you rather have an armed police officer or security at your school just in case? Or what are you saying? Why does an armed police officer, what's the danger of having an armed police officer at your school? Like, what do you mean? Is this the world you want to live in? I don't understand that logic. Yeah, I mean, these kids aren't protected. I mean, why would you not want that there is the question. Yes, but what if the shooter shoots the officer? Well, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, at least there's something there, and that's what happened today. He shot at the officers, and they ran away. Yeah, Liz Balderas, I think everybody would agree with you on this. If you're going to buy and or carry, you need to be fully trained and fully licensed. That's in Canada. We can't carry, though. We cannot carry. I don't think anybody wants children to be killed. That's just not, it's never going to be a part of the solution here. I think the issue, not our cops are the good guys. There need to be more training for police. Yeah, but I mean, in this case, there was I don't think it's corruption or anything like that. Like, we're not talking about police corruption. We're just talking about lack of heroism. Like, they needed to be heroes and they didn't step up. This is it right here. Kim Key says, I would take an armed cop at any school if it meant those 19 kids were still here. Can't argue with that. That's what you can't argue with. Hmm? A cop killed a student. No, this is not true. That's not true. I did hear that a police officer said, yell if you need help. And some student yelled, and then the shooter killed the student. I did hear that. That's being reported as well. Guys, what comes out in the next coming days is going to be mind-blowing, and it's going to be heated. and it's going to cause a lot of problems. Okay. And it needs to be a conversation, and people need to step up and do more. Like, whatever you believe, I think everybody here would believe and say and agree with me, not enough is being done. Regardless of what you think about common sense gun control, about laws, about security at schools, about whatever, we can all agree clearly not enough is being done to protect our children. Like, am I wrong? Yes, there's 2 teachers that are dead and a teacher's husband who literally died of a heart attack, broken heart. There are laws in Kentucky that schools must have at least 1 armed guard, but the individual school has to pay for it, and some done have them. My grandson's school has no guard. Ah, it sucks. So let's talk about what you could do. Okay. Oh, sorry. Ex-police chief of Uvalde was convicted of what? Uvalde is one of the major drug corridors from Mexico to Texas. Something stinks like a cover-up. What? Are you serious? Ex-police chief. Okay, so no, I didn't read that. I didn't know it was a major drug corridor. Okay. But it makes sense that why there's special ops border patrol in Uvalde. That does make sense for that. Okay. Angela says, to your poll questions should be 25 years minimum, and the stores that sell them should be accountable, right? Red flag to me is 2 guns, too much ammunition. So that's why a universal database would say, okay, this person has 2 guns. Maybe the rule is you're only allowed to have 2 guns, 1 handgun and 1 rifle, whatever, right? Or whatever, okay? And you're only allowed to have this many rounds of ammo. That's it. Why would anybody be against that? Because the 2A, and I think this is, I'm going to answer the question for you, because 2A is not meant for people just to protect themselves against someone coming in your property. It was literally created, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be wrong, against tyranny of a government that's going to try to protect yourself from a tyrannical government. That's why you're allowed to have as many guns as you want, as many rounds of ammo as you want. It's not just about hunting deer, right? It's about protecting yourself from a tyrannical government. I could be wrong. Hire vets to protect schools. They're trained and will run. You know, ex-military for sure. So here's what I'm proposing, and I think that we could all, maybe you guys just spitball with me about how this could really work. So we know 2A is not going to be overturned, right? You guys are in agreement. You know that 2A is not going to be overturned. It's never going to happen. The lobby's too powerful. 2A is protection against a tyrannical government. So whatever you're going to say, that's what they're always going to say. It doesn't matter what happens. To some people, this is an acceptable loss of life to keep freedoms. And whatever you believe about that, that's shitty. Sorry. Because I don't think that, again, all these families that have been destroyed, it's always you're outside of it. You don't really see it. But this one hits different for some reason. Something is different about this one. Okay? So we could talk about that all day, but that's not going to happen. Okay? So here's what I think a lot of people are proposing. I'm seeing this a lot. Your government and my government sent billions of dollars to Ukraine. Was it 40 billion? Something like that. Do you not think that $40 billion could do what people are proposing right now with the schools in your country? For those concerned about PD at schools, keep in mind that the majority of kiddos feel safer around cops. I think it'd be helpful. Yeah, I agree with you. There are some low-income schools, though, Liz, in obviously in inner cities and things like that, where those kids do not feel comfortable around cops. And can you blame them? So there are going to be some mitigating factors where kids will not feel comfortable around police officers. So there is an answer to that. And here's what I think is going to happen. What could happen? You send 40 billion to Ukraine, cool. They need help. Sure. I'm not against that. But at the same time, you spent something like $7 trillion last year in your country. You're telling me you can't earmark a few $1 billion to one. Here's what you do. Every single school in your country and my country has automatic locked doors with, I'm talking the most expensive effing security that you can buy. I don't care how much it costs. I want 8K cameras shooting 120 frames a second with petabytes of storage space inside the school in a mainframe network. Okay. I want to be able to zoom in to your pores to see who you are. Okay. That's cameras. That shit's cheap too. It's not that bad. Obviously, schools and government, you're going to have a ton of waste. It doesn't matter. Okay. First things first, 100% of your schools, all of them, crazy security. I'm talking bulletproof doors at the front, bulletproof doors in every classroom. And I want that to be lockable by a button. I want it to be accessible by only buzzer. Nobody gets in. And there's an armed security at every major door in every school. Okay? This is what I'm saying. It's going to be really effing expensive. I want schools to have gates. So you can't just drive up on the lawn and crash into a building, okay? I want there to be iron gates. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how beautiful your school is. The safety of our children is way more important than anything else. Why we protect our money like we do? Why do we protect our athletes, our politicians? Their January 6th riot happens at the Capitol. Nancy Pelosi shuts down Washington, D.C. for what, a month and a half? And still to this day, it's sort of locked down. Are you telling me that politicians are more important than children? Because if you believe that, unfollow me. Okay? Our children are our future. So why is this it's so effing stupid. Yeah, that's true. School shooters know the kids in the shooting drills. Yeah. So it's so stupid that our children, of all the things that we protect in our world, they have zero. They have almost nothing. Okay? Metal detectors, yeah, sure. That's going to stop a student from bringing a weapon in. I get that. Yes. 100%. Even at elementary schools. Okay? Nobody's getting into that school with a weapon. Okay? I'm not saying this is going to be the answer to everything, but hear me out. And this is the common sense conversation part of this. If every school does what I just proposed, okay, high-end security, gates, doors that are literally unbreakable, bulletproof, armed security, or whatever the case may be, armed to some degree, ex-military vets who need the money anyway, people who are trained in that way. Okay, so every school has that. Do you think it's going to mitigate some of this? Do you think it's going to mitigate most of it? It's going to mitigate most of it. They're not going to have the balls to go in if they know there's an armed security in a building, more than one, right? You can protect armed security too with vests and everything else. Thank you, Christy. Yes, children are our future. So why are we not protecting our kids? So here's another solution. I know this is not, a lot of people are going to be very upset with the solution. Arm teachers. But don't force teachers who don't want to be armed to be armed. There should be, let's say in a major high school, like the high school here is like 50 teachers in a high school. Okay. Let's just say there's 50. I don't know if that's true. Depending on the size of your high school. Okay. Let's say there's 50 teachers. If 10 of those teachers are willing to be armed, trained, and everything else, okay, then allow them to do it. And then don't allow those who don't want to do it to not do it. They don't want to do it. And you don't have to do it. But I guarantee you there's going to be at least a percentage of those teachers in that school. We're going to say, I will spend the time to learn how to use a weapon, tactical training, what I need to do. Here's the weapon. Here's where it is, and all this kind of stuff. You can keep weapons in a locked safe, fingerprinted, whatever. There's safe ways of storing weapons and secretive ways. Okay. I'm telling you, there's going to be a percentage of teachers who would absolutely take that up. Okay. And if there's something going on in school, those teachers can now mobilize. So I'm telling you, this is really expensive, but is it worth it? Of course it's worth it. Do you know how much waste the government spends on stupid shit, giving it to, like, I'm not against giving money, and my country does this all the time, to other people for protection and everything else. But when you give everything away and then you're just like, you're penny pinch on the thing that really matters inside your own countries, I can't. I'm sorry. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but more weapons, unfortunately, in this case, is going to be the only solution, is to arm and train people properly. Because if you do all the things I just said, then you don't have to worry about the two-way stuff. Not generally, because it's not going away anyway. But at least if you don't do anything, nothing changes. And I feel like the left wants this to be like, okay, take every gun away. That's the only change we want to see here. And the right's like, well, that's not going to happen. Why don't we do some protections? And then the left says, no. Well, but why not? If that is an option on the table, why would you not take the option? They already provided funding for fortifying schools about 4 years ago after Santa Fe. They didn't do it. Really? Why didn't they do it? Arm good people. Yeah. Again, I know they don't want to hear me. I know the argument. Again, this is why the fringes who operate on Twitter and in the news and everything else, they don't want to, CNN says, take the guns away. Fox says, F you. But who's in the middle saying, here's the common sense answer? It will mitigate a lot of this. It will absolutely help. And we all know it will. So why are politicians not jumping on this to say, everybody's looking for a bipartisan solution to anything, for a win? A bipartisan win for any government is good for everybody. This is the most bipartisan win you could ever have, where you could say, we are going to propose that we are going to protect our schools like we protect our effing banks, like we protect our athletes, like we protect our politicians, like we protect our famous people. That is what nobody would say no to that. And if you did, then you would lose all your support. People ignore mental health issues of people in their own house. The Texas shooter carved up his own face. Well, yeah, that's crazy. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit upset here. I want to leave this chat open to people who disagree with me too on this. Is there something I'm missing about that common sense idea of protect our students if you have all these things in place at schools? And I know that money is a mitigating factor in everything, but if you federalize it, there's nothing you can do. Like, you got what's her face there, the head of the school union, who has so much power, and she uses that power to say, we're shutting down the schools. If your kids aren't wearing masks, if they're not getting vaccinated, we're shutting down the schools. Why doesn't that girl who has all that power say, we're not opening up no teachers are going to teach until the school that they work at is protected from this type of behavior? Why aren't the massive, powerful lobbies of teachers saying to the government and to everybody else, they'll shut down for COVID? Oh, I don't want to get a cold, right? I get that, right? I get that. But why don't they use that same energy to say, our teachers are not walking into a school that doesn't have this, this, and this. Get it done, or there's not going to be any school. My phone cut out. Whoops. Exactly why I told my eldest I need to stop telling people that I'm a cop. He had to tell. Okay. Yeah, because not everybody likes law enforcement. Yeah. 98% of mass shootings in gun-free zones. And most schools are gun-free zones. I get that. But tell me, guys, please answer the question. Please. Why aren't these massive teachers unions who have so much power over the government not telling the government, F you, we're not going back to schools that don't have at least bulletproof doors, lockable doors with buzzer entry, at least one armed security guard, something. We are not teaching anymore. Could you imagine how fast things would change? Because they did it over COVID. I forget that chick's name. Oh my goodness, what's her name? And she's one of the most hated people in the world, but she has tons of power inside the teachers union. Okay. Why isn't she using her platform and her power to tell the government, F off, because two of our teachers just died? Okay. Protecting students. Where are they right now? Randy Weingarten. Where's Randy Weingarten right now? Where's she? Let me see what she's tweeting. I agree with more security. In high school, kids would open back doors for random kids. Yeah, I get it. High schools, I think you're going to always have a problem. I think you will, because high schools, it's a different world. I do get that, but at least high school students have, to some degree, are a little bit, can protect themselves more than a freaking grade school student could, right? Here's the thing. That's where they are. They post sign. I understand why you post a gun-free zone sign. Like a criminal gives a shit about your gun-free zone. 90% of all mass shootings happen in gun-free zones. Shows how much criminals are scared of law-abiding citizens who carry. Chicago has the most gun laws and shootings galore. Texas has less and is safer. So frustrating. I know it sounds so easy, but Randy Weingarten, who has power to shut down the schools during COVID, I'm looking at her Twitter right now. Here's her statement. I'm going to read it to you guys so you can see this. And I'm calling specifically her out because she has tons of power. Randy Weingarten says, within the span of a week, our country has witnessed 2 mass shootings. The gunning down of innocent people in what should be our community's safest spaces. As we wait further details, some things are clear. These are despicable acts of hatred designed to terrorize us all. The communities of Buffalo and now Uvalde will join a long list of places that will never be the same. Our hearts are with them. Only in America do people go grocery shopping and get mowed down by a shooter with hate in his heart. Only in this country are parents not assured that their kids will be safe at school. Gun violence is cancer. And it's one that none of us should tolerate for one single moment longer. We have made a choice to let this continue, and we can make a choice to finally do something, do anything, put a stop to this madness. Okay, Randy Weingarten. I get that. Oh, sorry, someone here. We can't see a concert to go to a stadium without walking through detectors or showing ID, but schools are walking. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we all can agree with this, okay? So Randy Weingarten says we got to do something, right? Randy Weingarten says we got to do something. And she tweets here, what teachers want are common sense gun laws. When the left says common sense gun laws, what they mean is take all guns away from people, and it's not going to happen. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying you've got to have a realistic, it's not going to happen, right? If you could, you probably would, but it's not going to happen. Okay? So the reason I call out Randy Weingarten is because, again, I'm going to go back to COVID. She literally had the power to shut down for a year. Kids weren't going to school because they didn't want teachers getting COVID. Right? And kids wouldn't be able to vaccinated. So she literally has that power. Randy Weingarten right now, if she decided to, could change the game as far as arming teachers if they want to be, hiring security, getting, doors and cameras and security. Okay. There is no good answer. Evil is, I know. But there is an answer, some answer. You can't just say there's no good answer, because this is actually a good answer. To arm, I don't know, ex-vets or whatever you call them, police officers, ex-military, people who want jobs, pay them well too. I mean, pay them well, okay? Get the right doors, right windows, everything you need in these schools, lock with a push of a button, okay? If that school had been armed the way I'm telling them to be armed with security, what you do is those doors close and they lock by a push of a damn button. Press the button, that guy can't get into the damn room. The doors are bulletproof. Okay? I know that shit's expensive. That is a good solution. It's a good solution. It will not fix everything, but it will mitigate a lot of it. Okay? Lockdown drills are traumatic. Unfortunately, you have to do them. So Cassie's Journal says, my high school has those doors. That's awesome. Every single school in the world should have those doors. Some schools operate on such a thin budget that they can't even afford pencils and shit like that, okay? That's why you federalize it. Randy Weingarten right now, again, I'm going to go back to her every single time. And maybe you should all tweet at Randy Weingarten. Hey, you have the power to do this because you already did it for COVID. You said COVID was killing millions of people and all that kind of stuff, and you were scared. Agree, whatever, or not agree, whatever. She had a legitimate concern about a pandemic, okay? This is a pandemic of kids being shot in schools. And what are you doing about it, Randy? Nothing. You're putting out a thoughts and prayers post. F your thoughts and prayers and your light and love. It doesn't do shit. Randy Weingarten has real power to change this, and she's not going to do anything about it. Yes, I am pro door mandate. Yes. Definitely mandate bulletproof doors and security at schools. Mandate the shit out of it. Mandate. Yep. Sadly, some bad guys want to get a hold of a gun. He will. If we start having safe zones everywhere, this is the first place the gunman will run because the fear of someone killing him is slim. Yeah, I mean, schools should not be gun-free zones. I said what I said because of the reality that we live in right now. And again, you don't have to have a security guard holding an AR-15 while kids go in are scared. You can actually have armed and trained security that is concealing or has a weapon in a locker in a room where he stands, you know what I mean? Or has a concealed carry so it doesn't look, it can be a cool dude who's like, what's up, students? High-fiving people, creating relationships with students. I bet you parents, I would as a parent, okay? If I was given the opportunity to volunteer to be on a rotating volunteer group of parents who took the training, tactical, weaponry, everything else, I would serve at my school if I was in the States, because this is where it happens. I would be a part of a parent group that would do that if the schools would provide that training, the money and the funding for that. There are parents who would do it. So there are a lot of solutions here, guys, but no one wants to talk about those because it's for the right. It's like, I don't even know why the right would be against that. I can't think of a thing, but for the left, it means that we're not taking away all the guns. So you've come up with a common sense solution, and to the right, it's like, well, or to the left, it's like, no, I don't care. I don't care. I want all guns gone. And I get that. I understand that if you had no guns, it's true. You cannot argue with the left on that. If the guns are gone, it's rare that you're going to have gun violence. Canada, UK, Australia are all examples of not having a ton of guns, and there's not a lot of gun violence here, right? You cannot argue with that point. Unarguable, inarguable. I don't know what the word is, okay? We don't have a ton. We do have gun violence. Yes, you're never going to be able to not have any. But per capita, the U.S. probably has the most gun violence. Than anywhere, I think. And I get that. Noah John says there's no way to disarm the country. I get that. You got the 2A rights. I understand that. But what I'm saying is the left is saying, I want nothing but all guns gone, because they have a point, right? But unfortunately, that is never going to happen. So the proposal that I am making and other people are making, the left still will say, no, we don't want it. We don't want guns in our school. And they'll come up like it, because what they see is more guns. All they see is, no, how can putting more guns in the world solve this problem? Unfortunately, it's more guns, more training, all that kind of stuff, more security, more money, more doors, all the things that you need. That is the solution. But that's why we sit, those of us who sit in the middle, which I think is a lot of us here, we sit right in that middle. And we have power to do the things we need to do. Do me a favor, if you're on Twitter, tweet at Randy Weingarten right now and say, why aren't you stopping teachers from going to all schools that you have power to stop them to go to until there's common sense security put in place at these schools? So Nolachik, I could be wrong. Are you saying that the left is cool with just putting in arming teachers, arming security guards, and doing the things I'm saying? Because I would like to see that happen. And I think that if the left and the right agree on that, then it would have already happened. I could be wrong, but Nolachik, I'm willing to hear what you have to say on that. Absolutely. Your grandkids have bulletproof backpacks? Oh my gosh. So this is what I think, and I, again, could be wrong. Sorry if I say your name. Sulema Sanchez says, no, the left is not okay with that. Why can't we have another assault weapons ban? That is what was in place before the gun control support over 80% of the U.S. population. Teachers don't get paid enough to teach. Now, Haley, I think you're probably right about this. Absolutely. But what do you consider an assault weapon? How do we talk to our kids about the violence in Uvalde? So Trinks says, Josh, all due respect, you're bashing the left ideology on Twitter. Twitter is bonkers. I completely agree with you, Trinks, and that's unfortunately where I go to get my news. And I do feel like the fringe of both sides exist on Twitter. And so yes, I do feel like you're right, but unfortunately, Twitter does have a lot of power to shape the national conversation. So you are right, and I'm right, but you're right. Did you see the Beto Storm press conference in Uvalde? He drove there to pick a fight with Abbott. All the victims' families there, not the time or place for that. He was escorted out. You know what? As much as you want to think about Beto O'Rourke, he's pissed. There's a lot of people who are pissed. So and then they're like, it's crazy that they're sitting there. It's not a time and place for politics when it's literally a stage completely full of politicians. So I don't know. Both are wrong. How about that? Okay, so assault weapons are weapons designed to have people die. So would you not say, Adoption Mama, that every weapon has the ability to make someone die? Every single weapon that fires a bullet has the opportunity to kill somebody. That's an assault weapon. Then could be a knife, a car. Look at what's it called? With the guy who drove through the plate at I can't remember the name, but anything that has the ability to kill somebody then is considered an assault weapon. As a teacher, I can say that my school didn't even have books because the budget didn't allow for them. I spent over $3,000 a year out of my pocket for supplies to teach lessons. Haley hopes this is the thing here too. Why are you not reaching out to and I'm not blaming you, don't take this wrong, but why are you not reaching out to your head of your union or whatever? What is on my forehead? It's like a big scratch. Jeez. Head of your union to say, I don't want to teach anymore until you get protections for us. Like, do you have any power to get people together to do that? Waukesha, yeah, thank you. And that was an honest question that to whoever that was, Adoption Mama. Like, any weapon has the ability to kill somebody, so that is considered an assault weapon. Are you saying, okay, so here it is. Any weapon that fires multiple rounds per second is what I would deem assault. Now, that is every weapon in modern day weaponry, unless you have a musket. So I'm not trying to be super argumentative, but almost every single weapon that exists to buy, except for what do you call those? Bolt action weaponry. So you're saying the only weapons people should be able to carry are bolt action. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that could be the answer. So people are saying any weapon that can fire multiple rounds per second should be banned. That's the argument. No bump stocks. Yep, every weapon would be banned, which is why we fight against common sense gun control. Okay. I think here's the problem too with the fringes. Yes, Trinks, you're right. The left thinks common sense gun reform is literally removing every single gun from the U.S., which is not going to happen. And the left thinks that. The right thinks common sense gun reform is more guns for people. Yeah, it's a heavy topic, Ashley. Just be careful with this one. But I think we can all agree, I think we can all agree here, to everybody in this chat, that if we pressure the politicians and the people in power to do things like that, they literally shut down our schools for over a year for COVID. Shut down the schools until you get all, they were putting HVAC units in schools. They're spending millions for air exchangers. Millions for COVID. A disease that doesn't really even affect kids, less than a percentage of a percentage point. Okay. They're spending millions of dollars on these HVAC units. Millions. So why are you not spending millions of dollars to replace your doors to get automatic locks put in place? It's just make it make sense to me. I agree with arming schools is great. Kids are the vulnerable. I stand for the 2A because the government overreach, but protect kids. Hammers are the deadly weapon. If people want to arm, they will do anything. If you go to the UK, they don't have any weapons, but there's more stabbings per capita than anywhere else, right? Because they use knives. You'll find a way. I'm not saying this is going to mitigate and it's not going to turn off all violence. It's never going to happen. Okay. But what I'm saying is that if you honestly gave this a shot and did this to 90% of the schools, let's just say that, or 100% of the schools, it would absolutely make a major difference. And it would. Yeah. Australia. It doesn't happen in Australia. You know why this doesn't happen in Australia, everybody? They don't have any damn guns in Australia. But the argument from the right would be like, okay, well, Australians also have one of the most crazy governments that will tell you to do. Australia was crazy. You have no protection of tyranny for the Australian government comes after you. None. Same in Canada. We have no protections. We can't arm ourselves. If our government decides to go tyrannical, what are we going to do about it? That's what they would say. Oh yeah, bulletproof windows for sure, Ali. Would it be possible to make stricter gun laws and secure the schools, like you said? Also, when I taught, I was not aware of any union. You're not a part of a union? Oh, so that's me. That's Canada. Every public school in Canada is a union. Everyone. My brother is an elementary school principal in Podunk Town, and they spent $2 million in each school for UV lights to kill viruses. Right? Shrinks. Imagine they spent $2 million in each school to put up better doors. UV effing lights. You got to be kidding me. Right. Yeah, Justin's right. People have to keep in mind the US has a higher population than Australia, UK, and Canada combined, probably tenfold too. Combined tenfold. You're right. And so I know the cost will be high, but I don't care what the cost is going to be. I don't think anybody should care what the cost is going to be. You're going to spend trillions of dollars, make $1 trillion protecting your children. Cool. No one cares. If it's about protecting kids, it doesn't matter what the cost. Teacher unions aren't active in my district. They have one meeting a year. Other than that, they're just a fee that, yeah, you're right. But again, somebody like Randy Weingarten has power. It has been proven because COVID has showed us what they can do if they really care. If they really want to make a difference, if they really want to change something, they can do it. They'll do it. You got Biden up there saying this has got to stop. This has got to stop. But then shut down the schools. Shut down the effing schools until you get everything you need. In fairness, no guns in Aussie, but people were literally placed in camps for catching a virus. Right? You're not going to see people be put into concentration camps for catching COVID in the US. It will never happen. My pistol hold 19 round. Would you consider an assault weapon? Just lock the school stores, stop using money towards Ukraine, get better security. No, I'm saying go ahead and give Ukraine money. Go ahead. Yeah, for sure. They need protection. But also protect your kids. It's not an if and or but. It's all. The government can make it happen. AOC wants Green New Deal. Okay, this is the thing that she says we need to go to renewable energy. We need to do all these things, right? It's going to cost $10 trillion a year. And it's just like, oh, cool. But let's say protecting our children in our schools costs $50 billion a year. $50 billion. Okay, let's just say it's that much, which it won't be. But let's say it is. Okay, do it. Who would vote against that? I would pay, there's a little checkbox on my taxes that say, hey, would you like to contribute more to the protection of your students? Yep. Sure. Count me in. Who would say no? I'd rather spend $1 trillion on us than a different country. We pay for it either way. Yeah, well, exactly. What did the Democrats vote against in Texas? Texas governor cut $211 million from mental health programs last. Really? Why would they do that? Is that Abbott? Why is he cutting? What was his? How do you justify cutting $211 million from a budget for mental health? Who did that? Why would he do that? Again, this is a conversation. Yes, mental health resources, everything. Of course. Again, I live in Canada where all that shit is very readily available. So it's crazy because you got people in the US who would die on a hill for socialized medicine. But I promise you, of all the things that you want to socialize, you should socialize your medicine. I don't care how much it costs. The one thing that I'm a socialist with is medical. I know it's not the best. Of course, there's never going to be a good solution for it all, okay? Of the one thing I'm a socialist on, it is socialized medicine. That should be a thing. Well, I'm just repeating what the other person said. They're not concentration camps. They are, what do you call them? What's the word? When they're quarantine camps. They're quarantine camps. Again, you would never be able to have a quarantine camp in the US. Would never happen. It would never happen. We could use some of the almost $400 million used to protect the 535 members of Congress. Wow. Cost $400 million to protect your Congress? That is so insane. My point is that mental health needs to be addressed. A school in El Paso was on lockdown today for a possible. Oh my gosh, it is getting ridiculous. Erica is right. It's getting. We're all frustrated. We're all had it up to here. We're all done with this. So why are we not just pull your damn kids out of school and say no more until these things are done? I'm not going to put my kid in a school that doesn't have protection. You can F right off. Why are we not doing that? We literally have kids in cages in the U.S. Never say never. What do you mean, kids? Are you talking about the border? Mental health is stigmatized. Is not much. Okay, I'm going to fight back on this one a little bit, Callie. Not anymore. Mental health. Have you ever been to TikTok? Okay. Mental health more than ever before. And I know this is going to might get a lot of people hating me, is celebrated and accepted more than it has ever been before. We are now telling people with certain mental health conditions they don't even say you should get help for that stuff is considered phobic of some kind. There are so many people with mental health that they are celebrated and given more bigger platforms and paid as influencers. There are more people now that I do this influencer world that talk about their mental health more than I've ever seen ever in my lifetime, ever before. It is more accepted than it has ever been. But that also means that there are certain mental health things that people are like, well, it's like if you say you should get help for those things, you are considered a bigot. So I'm sorry. Mental health is not stigmatized like it used to be. If anything, right now, there are people who literally build entire platforms as influencers for their mental health issues. So I can't, sorry, maybe in certain places. Where am I getting my news? I'm just telling you, I'm in social media. I'm reading it. Like, you go on to any, again, maybe just the world that I live in and that I study, which is mom influencers and influencers in general. Go on any influencer's page. Look at their stories, talking about their mental health all the time. Yeah, this is true. Haley Hope says mental health is important, but lack of discipline in schools. Yeah, it's gotten in Canada. You kids aren't getting penalized for anything. You can be late. You can whatever you're doing. You have to go to school. They can't penalize you for handing in assignments. Like nothing. Kids are just like they're not passing kids ahead who are smarter than others because it's not equitable. It's crazy. I have autism and depression. And I will admit help is lacking. More aid going to nothing issues than helping people. I agree with you. I'm not saying that we don't need more help. Of course we need more help for mental health. Of course we do. That's why I'm an advocate for socialized medicine, because you come here, I can go see a psychiatrist tomorrow or psychologist, whatever I need. That's covered. It's covered. I don't have to pay anybody. Comes off my taxes. I get the medicine I need. I get whatever I need. I get the support I need. I don't have to pay for it in my pocket. The U.S. is one of the biggest problems with because your population is so high. So that means that the number of people with mental health conditions is so high too. But so many people cannot afford the care they need for their mental health conditions. Right here, it's not the case. If I need to go see someone about my depression, I go see someone about. I don't have to pay for it. So you're right. There needs to be more. In Texas, some of our schools can't even afford to keep their air conditioning in decent repair or replace textbooks, computers, and other basic supplies, let alone guards. I get it, but if I was going to choose between having a dated textbook and my kids supported with armed security, I'm choosing armed security. Did you see what the Texas governor said? We don't need to worry about gun control. We need to worry about the victims. What the? Abbott's a twat for saying, like, these people are so stupid. Get a brain. Yeah, Australia is like here. We have socialized medicine. U.S. does not take care of their people. Don't take care of their anybody. Like, as far as I'm aware, if you have here's one of my big things with U.S. If there's a veteran that is homeless in your country, you did it wrong. That person served and risk their life for your country. If there's one veteran that lives on the streets, you failed. You should be ashamed of yourself. Seeing a psychiatrist or counsel takes time here in Canada. It took me 1 year to see. Not me in Ontario. I needed to see a psychiatrist for my anxiety. I got it the next day. So I guess it is hit and miss for sure. Josh, you were paying for healthcare through taxes. Yes. And you're paying for every, yes, it's true, Kelly. That's called social. That's why I'm saying it's socialized medicine. I'm not saying it's the best, but something that I would absolutely willingly pay for. If that means that someone can go get the help they need, cool. That's a society coming together saying we're all helping each other, right? But if I need to go get, a surgery at the hospital, I get it done and I walk out with no bill, right? I'm telling you, socialized medicine is the answer. You don't have to socialize your entire country, but socialized medicine, I'm sorry, it's better. It's not the best. It's better. Because, yeah, if you go to emergency sometimes and you have like a broken leg, you might be sitting there for 48 hours. I get that. People pay medical insurance in the U.S. are also paying for other healthcare, are they? Yeah, this is Trinks. I like you, Trinks. She says they had to make apps for mental health care in the US because it's so hard to get timely care. Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's just crazy. There's a shortage of psychologists in Canada. Please don't spew I'm not spewing misinformation based on my experience. How's that misinformation? That's based on my experience and my family's experience. I didn't say it's everybody can go see one right away, but my experience has been I can get mental health support very, very fast. So it's not misinformation at all. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but in my experience and my friends and people in my surrounding vicinity, it's been my experience. I'm sorry that has not been your experience, though. Yeah, all medications in Canada are paid for if you're under 25. This is true. Wait. Yeah, this is true. Care is not so great in Canada. I was referred to a psychiatrist November 21st. I got a call in March for June 25th. That's crazy. I guess it might depend on where you live, but again, mine was done before COVID, so COVID might have changed everything. No, our dental is not paid for, but it is actually coming up soon. They want to make it part of the socialized medicine, but only for if your income is to a degree. Anyway, sorry, let's get back to, it's not about socialized medicine, but it is about mental health. So been going for over an hour here. I just want to again, the conversation has to happen, but it's going to be interesting to see this unfold about the cop situation, about what happened and why it took a border patrol special unit to get in there and do this, and where was the SWAT team. So you guys keep an eye on everything that's going on, and it's not about light and love and prayers and thoughts and everything. Just stop. I mean, I get why people want to say that shit. Stop saying that stuff. Okay. If you really want to make a difference, you can pressure the right people to do it. Like people like Randy Weingarten. You tell the schools and the government from a person of power that we are not allowing our teachers to go back in until they are protected. Things will happen. Sorry. I'm not saying it's the cops' fault the guy's in there doing that. Okay, they got shot and risked their lives, but they ran away and they let that guy in there for an hour. I'm saying of course, it's not completely their fault, but they did not fulfill their duty, is what I'm saying. Thanks, Gemini. Yep. It's heartbreaking. And those families and everybody's like, hey, make sure you guys head to my description below. I've got the link to the GoFundMe. Everybody who gave today, thank you so much. I'm going to put that into the GoFundMe, and whatever I make on this video, it's going to go to that GoFundMe for these families. Again, no amount of money is going to at all change anything, but at least they can pay for funerals and do the things they need to. Like, it's just so hard. I don't even know what to do. There's no amount of money is going to do anything. But any help that we can do, I think you should do. And I know this world is really, really hard up for cash. That's another thing that really sucks right now. But anything you guys can do, make sure you head over to that GoFundMe and support them. And I don't know, lean on your politicians if you are so inclined to say, there's got to be another answer. So thanks for joining me tonight, guys. I hope you have a good evening, and I will see you tomorrow.